Microphone's already open. I didn't plan or fathom that. Well, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's an intense day, a long day, a beautiful day as well, and it's wonderful that you're spending it here inside with us. We're heading towards the second masterclass of the day. Masterclass means I am introducing our two speakers and the stage is all theirs and they get to do with you whatever they like. All right, so we're talking about energy right now. And I was asked to host a podcast on energy and climate change about 5 years ago. It's going on into the 5th season. It's going to be finished by the end of this year. And funny enough, when we started 5 years ago, and that was before the energy crisis, nobody even wanted to talk about electricity. They said, I mean, it's abundant, it's cheap, I just plug in, it's there, and it's complicated. Why would I even be interested in electricity? The whole thing changes when you're involved, because maybe you trade with it, because maybe you have a solar panel and a battery, and there's actually something you can do with it. Give it to your neighbors, they give it back to you. You can maybe see it even, because somebody has created a super platform where you can read what you are actually using, and that it's smarter to use your laundry machine with a solar panel at 12 at lunchtime than at midnight. So make it visible, make it simple, and over time it became a thing to make difficult things, complicated topics like electricity, understandable. And I think energy communities are one way to get that done without having to do a podcast. And I'm extremely happy. I do have two special guests here who will lead through this masterclass. It is Gianluca Ruggieri. He's an environmental engineer. He's graduated with a thesis on energy efficiency incentives through pricing, and he's one of the founding members of Energia, electricity cooperative of producers and users of renewable energy. And I'm greeting Laura Ferrarello. She is a senior design researcher at the EPFL AI Center and a researcher at the HERUS lab. And she works on renewable energy development and biodiversity protection in Switzerland with a design-led approach. I'm all thrilled. The stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Karin. Thank you actually for the brilliant way to introduce this other masterclass, because yes, community energies are important, but we need to understand why they're important, what could be their role. So what I'm going to describe in the next few couple of slides is included in this publication, which is being published last year. It's about accelerating renewable energy transition, and for this publication I led this chapter, which is about community engagement. To begin with, what I think is important to understand when we talk about community engagement is about the role that they can play and in the type of context they could be situated in. So I would like to start with this concept that's pursuing energy transition. Something that is quite important is to understand that they are located in a system where this system is not just about technology, but these are about socio-economical system. What does it mean? That basically, in order to pursue energy transition, we need to understand as well the social practices system, the knowledge, the way knowledge is acquired, the way knowledge is produced as a system, and the way knowledge is consumed. But of course, all these elements are all connected. So what is a community then? And I'm going to, in this case, to talk at the threshold, at the intersection between what is a community and what is a community in the context of energy transition. A community could be described as a process. What I mean with that, this is a group of individuals that are involved in decision-making. Or a community could be described as an outcome, which describes the benefit gained by the community member. So what is a kind of like the actual benefit that I gain as being a member of a community. Community as an actor which indicates the degree of agency that a community has in the context of decision-making for energy transition. Community as a network, which indicates the type of relationship that a community might have outside the radius of their community. And lastly, community as an identity, which actually are the kind of the way of thinking, the values, the rituals that actually exist within a community. So why having these considering these 5 different ways to understanding a community is important? Because it allows us to understand what could be the role of energy community in supporting the production and consumption of renewable energy. But also to understand the community as a formal organization of citizens that could be part of municipalities and that are engaged with different types of stakeholders. And lastly, also how this community can contribute to stimulate social technological transformation in energy system and also meeting national goals. In terms of the energy community, so the energy community in a very general terms, they kind of prefer to start with this kind of general definition, is a community that is involved in producing, distributing and managing energy. But what happens that in defining the exact community, here there is not a specific kind of absolute term, because this varies in relationship to the boundaries that depends on the legislation. So there are different types of communities. But something that I wanted to now describe to move forward in why it's important to understand how to involve community in energy transition is the concept of decentralization. So basically, by decentralizing the energy system, as develops different types of understanding how energy could be produced and consumed, which is about participation. And this concept of participation means that there are different types of actors that could participate in the process of producing and consuming energies, and that basically means that the benefit could be back within the local space. So having kind of harnessing the localization of the energy infrastructure actually is a way to empower the members to understand how they can tailor the benefit locally for their local benefits. And I mentioned earlier there was a concept of energy justice. So by definition, one of the kind of definitions that I found that kind of collects different type of literature together that kind of is shared, is that energy justice could be defined as a way of a fair distribution of the cost and benefit of energy service. What does it mean? That when you consider energy justice in the context of decision-making for understanding the strategies of energy transition, what you consider is the value, the social value of energy. So it's not the technical one, it's not the actual number of the energy you can produce, but how the value could actually be back to the community. So whether this value produces social equity. Therefore, this is a way to also think about what could be, how the targets could be tailored in a way the local community could be benefit from the energy production locally. And lastly, here comes back the concept of local energy communities, who actually have the procedural means to distribute the renewable energy benefits and costs to the affiliated members. Because by kind of owning the management administration of the energy community, they also have the power to distribute that back to the members that belong to the community, but also to local citizens. And this is basically what happens when energy transition considers social energy justice. In terms of historical terms, which I thought it was important, is the fact that in Switzerland the concept of energy cooperatives is not new. It's not something that arrived recently with a kind of support for the renewable energy, but it's somehow 150 years old. And there have been different types of ways where this diagram represents there was a peak between 2006 and 2012, and this coincided with incentives that the federal government gave locally to different type of communities. So going back into the aspect of the political aspect of energy. We know that Switzerland voted for a referendum last year, which was known as a Manterklasse. And in this law, basically in this bill, was included also the formalization of these energy communities, which are now kind of this formal organization, legal organization, that are in charge to regulate the sale of energy or renewable energies across the kind of the producer, the consumer, and infrastructure, but also it regulates the way of the way energy actually is produced and consumed. So what is the interesting thing of this new step in the history in the Swiss history about energy transition is the fact that the Energy Act introduced more flexibility to the local communities to sell and produce and distribute energy. And this flexibility actually kind of fast forward the way, the intention of this flexibility was to fast forward the adoption, but also to address some of the technical challenges, which is about the peak of energy. Therefore, through the energy communities here become somehow a center, the important center to understand how this flexibility could be harnessed, not only nationally, but also locally, because they can themselves manage the distribution of the energy to their members, affiliated members, and those that kind of buy the energy by using the public grid, which is something was not possible before. And therefore, they can also negotiate different type of tariffs, and the kind of cost of energy is no longer kind of fixed, but it could be differentiated according to the production of energy and the consumption. So the participation of the energy communities in the energy production is not just about a vehicle for producing energy justice, but also to create self-reliance. What I mean with that the benefit and the cost, the surplus that coming from the production of energy could be reinvested back to different types of services within the community, which could be about health, could be about education, could be about culture. And the municipality in this context have definitely a key role in terms of being, they can play different type of, the municipalities can play different type of roles, including being stakeholders, partners, and investors. And there is this dialogue between the community and the municipality. And now, I give, as I mentioned, Karin, we making what we like with our masterclass.
Thank you very much. So the idea is that now we switch to my presentation because after this introduction to the theory of energy communities, we will try to understand one particular energy community. So if it's possible to switch the presentation.
It's on.
Oh, no, this is mine.
Oh,
this is still mine.
No.
It will make sense why we're doing this, so you will
yes.
Wait and see.
Well, we could ask the audience in the meantime.
Oh, in case, yes.
Who is any one of you member of one of those communities?
Or is interested to be?
No? Who knows the concept
there is
of
a
energy communities? Just interested. So anyone who had the hands up is going to found one after your speech today. Here you go.
Okay, so this is the story of ènostra, which is an energy cooperative actually in Italy. And what we use as an introduction to what it is ènostra, we say that it is the first energy cooperative in Italy that produces and supplies 100% renewable, ethical, and sustainable energy through a model based on participation and sharing, which is a lot of things in just one sentence. And every single word in this sentence has a meaning, has a specific meaning. First of all, why we are the first energy cooperative. Actually, we are not really the first energy cooperative, because there is a long story in Italy of cooperatives dealing with energy at the beginning of 20th century, so 100 years ago. But then in 1963, there was a nationalization of the electricity sector, and Enel was the national governmental industry dealing with electricity. So some cooperatives stayed alive for this period from 63 to 2000 and something. But in those years, it was impossible to build up new cooperatives. It was only after the liberalization that was possible again to set up cooperatives dealing with energy and dealing with electricity. But what is specific for us is that we deal with 100% renewable energy. We say it's ethical because we choose where to develop our new facilities based on the relationship with local communities. It's not that we go there and we do something and take the money and okay, without involving the local community. And we said that it's sustainable because we have like an ethical code, I would say, to define which plants are sustainable and which are not, because you can be renewable without being sustainable. These are not really synonymous. And the idea is, of course, to have a sharing of the benefits and also of the cost of what we do. So in the beginning, there were several questions that we had, and we tried to answer to the question. So one question was how to increase the social acceptance of renewable energy sources production, of the production of electricity from renewable energy sources, because in some places you don't have a real social acceptance. People don't want to have on their place a new energy facilities. The second question was, okay, now we are entering in a new phase, in an energy transition phase. We can participate in this transition as a citizen, as a producer of electricity with our own plant on our house. But can we do it collectively? Can we do it with other people, together with other people? And the third thing was that, at least in Italy, the liberalization process has had as an outcome a very aggressive market. So energy companies are calling you every day and say, come on, let's come with us. We have the best options, we have the best tariffs, come with us, very aggressive. And sometimes are legal, these kind of approaches, and sometimes they are not legal. And so there are a lot of energy companies who have been under inquiries by the several authorities. And so we felt that many people needs to be protected from these very aggressive approaches. Because otherwise you have, in many cases, old people, like they answer to the phone, they just say yes, and they don't know that they are what they are saying yes to. No, they just say yes. So we thought that having a cooperative approach was an answer to different to these different questions. And in practice, we developed a first cooperative in 2008. In those days, I was one of the youngest guys there. Now I'm not anymore one of the youngest guys in ènostra, fortunately. And so we were 12 people, and no one was a professional in energy markets or in electricity markets. There was a farmer, someone working at the post office. I was working as a researcher at the university, but I was not dealing with markets in strict sense. So we were like amateurs, let's say, I would say. And with Energia, we developed some renewable energy plants with this approach to put money together and develop bigger plants than what we would have done by ourselves. And so, for example, this is from 2017. We were trying to collect 200,000 euro to develop this plant, and of course we finally have this money. And I think we were working mainly on photovoltaics, all on buildings, not on fields. And we had one small wind turbine in Sardinia. But in 2012, there was this European project, RESCOP 2020, and the idea was to introduce in some of the European countries where the cooperative approach was not really, like I would say, successful at the moment, introduce there the approaches that have been successful in other countries. For example, in Germany or in Denmark or in other countries, you have, I would say, hundreds of cooperatives. And in Italy, we had very few experiences. One of these was Energia. So we put together a lot of practitioners, researchers, stakeholders, and we asked them, okay, what shall we do? What shall we need? What do we need, and what shall we do? The idea was that we were missing a supply cooperative. So we had some cooperative that produced energy from renewable sources, but we didn't have any cooperative who sell electricity to citizens, to companies and whatever. So the idea was that to set up a cooperative for the supply of renewable electricity, it was needed to have at least 5,000 members. And the Energia was really successful, but we had only 1,000 members, so we were not enough. We need to reach out for more people. And so we set up a new cooperative, which is ènostra, and the idea was that Energia was doing the production and ènostra was doing the supply. And in the beginning, of course, we didn't have 5,000 members. We had, at the beginning, 10 members and then 100 members. And our idea was to see if it works or not. Our inspiration in this was a Spanish cooperative, which is called Energia, that was born in Catalonia in 2010, I think. And they were very successful in increasing numbers very fast. And they told us, if you wait to be 5,000, you will never reach that point. So you have to go in the market, even if you are a few people, and then you will find what you need on the market. And so we decided to do like this, but we knew that ènostra could be a failure if we didn't reach this 5,000 people. When we have reached that point, we merged the two cooperatives, so now Energia is not there anymore, because we have ènostra, which is the merge of the two cooperatives. This was the assembly when we decided to put together the two cooperatives. And what we do now, it's a lot of things. We, of course, produce and supply renewable electricity. We have these new collective energy facilities, and I will explain what is this model. We have some members who produce electricity and sell it to the cooperative. We provide energy-saving services to our members. We help in the establishment of local energy communities, and I will explain also this. And we do a lot of training and awareness raising. We have a radio broadcast every week, so we do a lot of engagement, I would say, about the energy transition. So this is where our energy comes from. More or less 10% comes from our own facilities. 25% comes from members that have their own production facilities, big, not small. One of our next steps that we want to achieve is to buy electricity even from families with very small plants, but at the moment it's quite complicated, so I think that we will do it in the next years. And 65% we buy it on the market, of course, with certificates with guarantee of origin, because we have to be sure that it is renewable electricity. So this is the collective investment in energy facilities that I was talking about. So these are our members who put their money in the cooperative, and we use their money to develop new facilities. And we have developed recently 2 wind turbines in Umbria, near Gubbio. And this is our numbers now. But the idea is that if you are a member who invests in our projects, then you will have the electricity at a fixed price, no matter what happens on the market, because the price is exactly what we pay to produce that electricity. So actually, we just take a small amount of money for our own expenses, for the survival, I would say, of the cooperative, but this is exactly the actual production costs. And in the latest 3 years, those members have benefit from a price which is still today well below the market price. So they have made a lot of money, I would say. And the investment is depending on the consumption of your house. It may be between 500 and 2,000 euro in most cases. But of course, you can also invest more. But normally, you invest proportionally to your consumption. And this is our points of delivery year by year. So this was the first year when we provided electricity, and in 2016, I paid the bill to myself, like I would say. And now, I think that we are now more or less around 20,000, maybe 19,000 and something. We are a national cooperative, so we are active in every region on Italy. So we consider ourselves a community. We consider ourselves a community which deals with renewable energy, but we are not a renewable energy community or a local energy community as defined by the law in Italy. So the definition of renewable energy community is different from what we do. And so we are another kind, I would say, of energy community. Something that, in my personal view, we have learned in these years. These are pictures from the work we have done with some of our members to understand what they needed and how we can provide them. So everything we have done was very, very difficult because of a lot of things, because of economic problems, because of legal problems, because of all things. I would just give an example. We are developing a photovoltaic on a roof in Sardinia, and we just need to have a 6-meter old to pass the cable of electricity, and we are waiting for the permission since, I think, 10 months, just to have 6 meters of excavation, you know. This gives you an idea of what I mean when I say everything is difficult, but it's not impossible. But it's not impossible. So you have to be strong. The process is more important than the outcome. So in our experience, for example, we have decided that our photovoltaic plants should never be on agricultural land, okay? And up until now, we have only developed photovoltaic plants on roof of buildings. But of course, you can do in our rules, we could also do some of these on land, which is not agriculture. But we were not sure of the opinion of our members, no? If they are willing that we do like this or not. And we wanted to decide with them what is good and what is not good, to draw the line between what we can do and what we cannot do. And so we have done a webinar talking about this issue with some experts that were bringing their experience. And after the webinar, we sent a questionnaire to the members that were involved in the webinar to collect their opinion. And their opinion informed our decision. So now we decide things based on what we have collected from the members. And of course, it would be easier to just develop photovoltaic plants on agricultural land and have a lower price for electricity, a lower tariff for our members, but then this is not ethical for us, no, because it's not discussed with our members. It's not something that we have shared as a decision. And this is connected to this. The messages, the aims, and the decision must be consistent. You cannot just say that you're ethical and then you don't act ethically. And of course, the strength of the cooperative is in its member. It's not in the money, but in the people. So what we do with local energy communities, because we are not a local energy community, we support whoever wants to develop a local energy community. And we support it as a consultancy. We help them to develop their own experience. Of course, we have a lot of individual prosumers. In Italy, we are 2 million small plants all around Italy, but of course it means that there is 50-something million people who are not prosumer. We can develop collective self-consumption on a building with a condominium with different families in the building that use the electricity produced by the plant. Or we can develop a local renewable energy community, which means that you have a number of different plants and a number of consumers. In Italy, we have a physical limitation of high voltage to medium voltage transformation facility. And there are 2,000 of this area in Italy, which means that you have 30,000 on average people that can be included in a local energy community. Of course, it doesn't mean that you have to involve all of them. You can develop an energy community of 30 people, but they have to be in this district, in this local district. All members continue to have their own supplier, pay their own bill, is everything like before. There are no physical connections between the plants and the consumer. The only thing that counts is that the production and the consumption on a local basis must be in the same, at the same time. So if there is this correspondence between production and consumption at the same time, you say that there is shared energy and you get a benefit and you get an incentive for this. And at the end of the year, the renewable energy community can decide what to do with the money they have collected with this incentive. They can share between the members equally or defining some rules, or they can fund activities with social impact, or, for example, fighting energy poverty or whatever they choose to do. We are working with at least 60 different experiences around Italy. Some of them are developed by local administration, municipalities, or association, citizens. These are in the same building, or from simple citizens. So wherever they come together, we can help them, but of course we are a cost for them because they have to pay for our assistance. And we can do whatever it needs from the setup of the community, so feasibility study, legal consultancy, the registration at the National Registry of the communities, the activation and training for the people involved in the community, and then also the management after the community is established, because of course the most difficult part is to establish, but then still there is a lot of work to do. So in our experience, this is one of the first community that we have helped to develop in Sardinia. And this is interesting because in this municipality they are fiercely against the development of big wind energy plants, but they are the first one of the first in Italy that developed the renewable energy communities. So there is this conflict between these two approaches. We need to develop this bottom-up. I think otherwise you don't have a community if you don't work bottom-up. They can increase awareness on the energy use in a local community. This is crucial. If we just set up a community to develop plants, okay, you have done something. But if you don't use this chance to make the people more aware of how they use the energy, you are losing a big chance. And of course, you can use this chance also to promote other things that have nothing to do with energy on a local basis, but that make sense on a local basis. And of course, the idea is that when you work together, you can develop a win-win strategies. So the challenges for the future. For ènostra, one big challenge is that the bigger we get, the less we have contacts with our members. So when you are 100, it's easy. You can stay in one room and decide things together. When you are 20,000, it's very difficult to have the feeling of what the 20,000 people are thinking. So this is one big challenge for us. For renewable energy communities in Italy, we have this, since we have the final definition by the law in April 2000 and 24, so 1 year ago we had the final definition of the law. So there is a lot of local experience that are developing renewable energy communities. In many cases, they will not be big enough to have a real impact in the future. And the risk is that the cost of the community is more or less the same as the incentive. And so they are doing nothing. They're just taking the incentives to cover the cost of the functioning of the community. And so there is a problem. There can be renewable energy zombies in the future, because if they are not big enough, they are not doing anything at all. So the idea is that if they are not big enough, they can try to put together some experience on a local basis, have bigger experience, and in this way you can think about increasing the impact year by year, not just you have developed one plant, you get the money and you're happy. No, you use this to increase the impact on a year-by-year basis. So this is, I think, the main challenge of renewable energy communities in Italy, because the first phase is very, very difficult, and so at the end of the first phase, if you don't have real results, you risk to destroy everything. Okay, if there is any question, I'm here, but Laura will end up with her presentation.
We need to change again. So basically, the reason why we decided to kind of open with my more theoretical aspect that introduced the concept of community, energy communities, and then with Gianluca presenting the real cases, is to show you basically what could be, why the rationale, why thinking about meeting targets in terms of quantifying many kind of how much technology we need, where do we need, actually needs people. And the concept of the energy community is basically about power. There are two words that I didn't mention, and then I think probably is part of the conversation, but it's the sort of two elephants in the rooms, are the word acceptance and also landscape. So the word is called NISMIN, so not in my backyard. And in order, these are the main kind of bottlenecks, but in order to actually understand how we can meet our targets from a technological perspective, where there is a need, for instance, of the decentralization of the technology, people can make a difference. And this is what we're trying to say, to conclude, we wanted to show the concept of what could be the concept of energy democracy. That's, I guess, in the old world, was something that we thought it could be something positive to forward. Because if you imagine that the communities could be part of those decision-making, Gianluca mentioned about process. So it's basically a journey to go to a certain direction where there is an outcome. And the outcome is about, yes, numbers, a type of kind of a business model, but there is a process in between which highly makes the difference of engaging people in a way that can make a difference for them and for you, that you like to kind of to meet the national, kind of local targets. So, and by participating, there are aspects that should be actually outlined. The first of all, that the concept of energy governance could be described as a space where there are different opinions, and we know this is reality. We're not going to ever in the real world to talk about with people that are super aligned with us, but there are people that disagree with us very highly. And this actually, in the context of democracy, this is very important, that we take in account all the type of conflicts and difficulties that are part of the process, and we understand what could be the solution. And also to engage citizens in participating in these live debates gives the opportunity to express my view, why I'm against this, what is the problem. So really to engage in the different types of opinions that are not just about, of course, the science and technology, but also is about my life and what I think is important for me. So the participation here becomes a very important aspect because it's a space literally where you can meet together, like my knowledge, my experience of living in a specific place where I know the culture, where I know exactly what's happening, with what is the science. And these two aspects need to be reconciled together in order to have something that actually is effective in terms of decision making. Because to create this type of governance where these contrasts and different opinions can get together is a way to have a legacy within the context of your operating. So your intervention could be basically more impactful, and then also the space of the problem could be co-created. So we understand together what is the problem we try to discuss. That basically means that in this deliberation, your everyday life has the same weight of science and technology, and this is also on them, as Gianluca mentioned, in the space of people. This, for my perception as a citizen, that is interested perhaps to understand how I can invest, how I can kind of invest in a community, allows me to get an understanding, a much more clear understanding of what is happening, which develops trust, which is very important. So basically, participation in this deliberation process where you discuss what is the problem is an important space where it basically is a process of learning, because imagine that you're together, you as a scientist and engineers, you're in a space that you have local people that have different backgrounds than you. Maybe don't know, they've never been at university, but still they are important. What they know is very important for you to understand how to best intervene in the space. Therefore, like, this process is for you a learning, because you learn what they know, what they want, but also they learn what is your opinion. So participation and discussion becomes a way for learning, where we acknowledge the different other kind of experiences, and we can stimulate also a change of attitude. So I kind of have a few two slides. Knowledge building is the byproduct of community engagement in energy transition, because this is a way to exchange knowledge between the different types of communities. And this increases basically even competencies on using science, like the tools that you design for people, and they know how to use that. So you don't have to be there to babysit anyone, but they take ownership of the tools that you developed, which actually increases the level of adoption and also the innovation of the aspect that you're developing. And Switzerland actually is quite very well placed because of the federal system, by the system, how it works, there is already knowledge locally because the federal system gives municipalities freedom of administrating and governing basically the local energy. So the knowledge is already there, and therefore, like, probably if you want to intervene with local communities, you just have to kind of unpack that and bring it to the surface. So finally, the 3 points that I would like to conclude on is that the role of local energy communities can favor, yes, the just energy transition by distributing the kind of the benefit of energy through this multi-stakeholder participation, and encourage different types of people to participate in the decision making. That the government, as Gianluca mentioned, and something I want to open the brackets and close, that every single situation, because of the legislation and the regulation, does change from country to country, but in any case, the government can play a big role into supporting or basically favoring or understanding how we can act more effectively by understanding people, above all to consider the economic value that the energy as a kind of number could bring to local communities. And finally, that these energy communities are a space that promotes knowledge exchange for the management and building new skills, and therefore, like, there are more opportunities locally for new jobs and new type of opportunities that perhaps there wouldn't be before. And with this, I am done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Gianluca Ruggieri and Laura Ferrarello. Questions from the audience? Yes, they're coming up. And while I'm walking there and pretending now I don't have to toss it, you said engaging people. We've heard that a lot today. You have to get people to move, be it via storytelling or however. What charm offense did you use? Not offense as in, like, you know, how did you get the people to come along? It's a lovely group there. It looks like all kinds of different people. What did you tell them to take part?
Oh, very difficult question. We tell the truth. We just go wherever we are asked to go. I think I may do like 50 meetings per year, like
50.
50, yes. Just myself, and if you count all the people in the cooperative, it's hundreds of meetings.
So you go like to a community, Dericiola,
Yes.
for instance, and you say...
Yes, they mainly they are interested in energy transition as a whole process, and they ask what we need to develop this energy transition, or in local energy communities, because there was a lot of talk about these local energy communities in Italy since 4 or 5 years, and now we are doing them really, so it was very exciting. But we have done a lot of things. We have printed a book on energy communities. We have radio broadcasts every week. So all means are useful.
But I hear a lot of marketing.
Yes, it's community-based marketing. So we don't go and we say we have the best price. We have the best offer.
It does play a money. The money does play a role, doesn't it?
Yes, but if your main point is to gain a lot of money, we are not the right people.
Oh, no, I meant you tell the people.
Yes, when we go with the people, we say, you can be sure with us that we will not truffare.
Yeah, cheat you.
Yeah. But maybe you can find also other companies with better price in this moment. So if your point is to have the better price, maybe we are not the better price company. But if you want to be safe, maybe yeah.
Good argument. Safety. Question.
Yes. So just a remark, actually, not a question, but it's related to what you just asked to the guest speaker. Basically, I think Switzerland is different than Italy because it's a monopoly, and so the people cannot choose their grid distributor. It means, and so I think the local community, from my experience, will anyway be pushed, but for economical reasons, because the resale price that the grid manager buy the price the electricity from the solar panels is so low that the people have anyway a better interest to sell the electricity to their neighbors, because it's like they buy the electricity 3 times more expensive than what they sell. So anyway, they will have more interest to sell it to their neighbors. So on top of everything that it will add, I think economically it's just much more interesting.
Thank you.
So that's more...
Which is, yeah, it's a comment. Yes.
Comment,
yes,
okay.
Yeah, thank you. I have a couple of questions. One with respect to the business model of ènostra. And it's more like I couldn't help wondering while you were explaining the fact that it's indeed not an energy community because prosumers are not really on the same medium voltage side of the transformer. I couldn't help wondering, like, where does this business model go, in the sense that, yes, it can grow, but I felt like, yeah, some people can have 100% sustainable, ethical provision, but this is kind of gonna hit like a saturation point. And also with respect to what you were saying at the end, commenting on local energy community. So they're not really gonna make a lot of difference, because if we are talking about locally produced and consumed energy, we are never gonna get to relevant percentages of like prosumers as a, like overall in the energy community. And yeah, for sure that's the case, but I don't know, in the global perspective, wouldn't it be better like to really think about how actually to improve this percentage of like local consumption, production and consumption of local energy community, rather than having like just a small percentage of the population that achieves 100% ethically and sustainably sourced electricity. And then with respect to what we were saying of how much the community can contribute to having a successful local energy community with respect to science and technological limitations? What can, in fact, like a community actually do in, like, I don't know, overcoming the hurdles that are, for example, in the city, yeah, on the same medium voltage side of the transformer, there's not that much space to actually have enough production to supply the people that live there. Yeah,
That was a very long 2 questions. Do you still know them? Good, try.
I think that we are in a situation where we need everything. So we need both. We need to have more local energy communities. We need to have even big, they are not so big. I mean, we are 20,000 for me is a huge number, but in Italy we have 20 million, more than 20 million customers in the electricity market. So it's nothing, 20,000 compared to 20 million. But at the same time, after we developed this prosumer approach, when you can invest in the facilities of the cooperative and then you have a fixed price electricity, there was a big energy company who did the same thing. And they could have done before us, but they didn't do it.
So it's also about being a role model?
Yeah, I think that is important. You show how you can change things by forgetting what is considered normal and trying to imagine new models, new approaches. And this is maybe even more impactful than what we do by ourselves. Of course, we do it in a different way compared to them, but still knowing that them have waited for us to have this approach before, it's very important for me.
I guess to build up from this, like, there are, like, in a sort of what is the leverage point that can create the highest type of change and much power I have myself as a community. I think some of the aspect of cultural change is very important because the majority of the times we work through some institutionalized type of behavior that we assume this is how things go. But then a small community might have an idea and then it started to introduce a change within the system. That's why understanding things not as isolated, but understanding what type of change in the system that exists around the energy communities in general, what type of change you can have, even though you're small. That's why it's very important to consider those as systems, and then you're not working within an isolated context, but there are different relations that through your action of creating a community, you can create in order to stimulate change. So your small push might have different types of reverberating effect. That's why it's important to understand the different contexts around what is the business model, what is the financing, what are the type of communities, who are the innovators, the champions. So these elements are very important to understand, okay, we're doing something small, but what could be in a short and long term the change that can have because we are in a system and there are different cascade effects that might happen.
Did you get all the answers? Brilliant. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so I don't know if you know the company called Energia in Switzerland. So they have, my question is about that model. They use a finance company that invests in, for example, there's a project in a community with a commune in Switzerland, and the commune is getting the financing from the Energia entity, which is funded by the bank. And that's, let's say, 50% of the financing for the project, and then there's another 45%, which is the community, and then there's another part, which is, I guess, this company somehow. So it's this kind of multi-layered financing vehicle, where a Swiss bank is actually helping to finance the commune part of the investment. And I don't know how, actually, I know the owner personally because he was in my church and whatever, I just happen to know him. But I wonder what you think about that one. I know what you've talked about is relevant to Italy, but in Switzerland, we are I don't know if I'm American, but I've lived here a long time, and it's kind of like each
each canton is a bit different. There's even kind of a competition between cantons for stupid things that, you know, whatever. Communes are really different. And I feel like we need a different model. You know, Italy is kind of like Italy everywhere, even though you have some competition about, I don't know what, who's better, Genova or Milan or I don't know what. But it's one thing, and also because of the energy sector, there's Enel, so it's kind of, and here, as somebody said, we have so many, I don't know, 400 or so many DSOs, right? So it's a completely different market. But what do you think about this model, which is this financing system where a Swiss bank invests in the part that's owned by the commune? And I don't know who is actually stimulating that whole thing from the beginning. Is it a person living in the commune that says, hey, this model exists, let's go to the company Energia that offers the model? Or is it that, you know, they come and they market that thing around to other commune? I don't know, but I just wanted to ask you what you think about this.
I guess like my answer to the question is one of the problems about the power that you have, because if a Swiss bank comes to you and I give you the money, like you already see that the relationship is not that kind of equal. And then like that's why I wanted to mention the aspect of decentralization. Of course, the financing is one of the biggest questions, but I think there should be a rethinking about what could be the business model that could be driven by the concept of energy justice. Because if you kind of go with a big player and you go reach out the community, therefore, like, I'm not sure like how much of energy justice we can think about. There will be, of course, the kind of the nice way that, okay, we offer you this and that. But if the community is not kind of totally doesn't understand exactly what's happening, what are the benefits for us, how we can benefit from this, like that could be a challenge. So therefore, like I know that from legislation from Switzerland, I didn't look at that kind of latest one, but there are a few legislation on who could be who is the stakeholder of the energy community. And one of the reasons is exactly to try to avoid this type of situations where there is a big player and a kind of like what type of power is left to the other. And this is kind of a way to redistribute, because to me, like to answer kind of straight to your question, it's a problem of power. And then the power you have in terms of like pushing a certain agenda, because from your kind of financial perspective works, but for the local community, how I'm going to benefit from that? And then this is by like kind of reversing that and try to think about how a financing might work from a more bottom-up process that we mentioned in the previous session would be a way to try to change. But of course, it will come with the regulation. That's something that needs probably like some kind of trial and error, like perhaps doing some tests. And I think the Switzerland model that you already have the knowledge there is something that is a plus, that it could be something that can be prototyped, perhaps.
Hello, thank you. I have all sorts of ideas in mind, a little bit confused, but I wanted to follow up to Giulia's question. It's funny, I had actually the same question about the business model of LCEs. And yeah, like my question is, what is the business model of LCEs? I understand, and I totally agree with the fact that it can also be non-competitive and have a lot of value for being non-competitive, but stimulating what you clearly explained to us, the value in participation and in making people think of their end goals as a community, at community level. I'm guessing, though, that since it's like the LCEs you're describing are connected to the main grid, how can you ensure a fixed price given the fact that renewables are still stochastic sources of energy and that you're using the infrastructure you don't own? And linked to this, I guess that if you want to scale up and kind of install that reaction chain that then allows you to really reach those powerful companies that can have access to these big volumes of energy, I think you need a solid business models also to convince, to scale up, to convince more and more people that we need a fair system rather than a cheap system, considering also that when the market was born, the electricity market was born, when electricity started being traded, the promise was to bring down the prices, but it didn't necessarily happen.
I was there at the moment.
exactly what are the pitfalls, and I mean, we want to move away from this if we want to, and if we want to, how to do that step.
So it's a very important question and not an easy question. I think that just to explain, we have a fixed price of the kilowatt hour of production, but of course when you pay in your bill, you don't pay only the kilowatt hour, you pay for the grid cost, you pay for taxes, and you pay for a service which is called the balance service, which deals with the fact that you don't have a perfect alignment in time between when you are producing and when you are using the electricity. And up until now, when in the national system in Italy, wind and photovoltaics are important but are not the biggest source of electricity at the moment, you have a balance in the market and it's okay. But of course, if we go through the transition and we will have maybe 60–70% of electricity coming from wind and photovoltaics, you need to have a flexible system in the market, which means you need storage of electricity, you need demand flexibility on the demand side, so you change the system as a whole. What we are doing now is we are participating to some pilot projects to see what would be the effect of this kind of approach in the system. But at the moment, we are in a very different situation compared to some things that I have heard. For example, in Italy, you can sell the electricity to your neighbor.
You can or cannot?
You cannot at the moment. I mean, the law says that you can, but no one knows how to, so you cannot.
It's a pioneer project in Wallenstadt where they actually really tried to involve people through that. So people started to sit like on their iPads, like, oh, I can sell now, it's cheaper.
Yes.
So.
For the situation in Italy, this is science fiction. It's not.
Wow.
It's not science. It's science fiction. So we are a different situation. So this, I think, is what we need to work on to be prepared when it will be possible to do also that things in Italy. And we are trying to do. Of course, we are very small, and we cannot we cannot decide to have €1 million for a research project because we don't have €1 million.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm checking time. We've gone over the limit for a little bit.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I didn't realize the time.
No problem at all. I had it under control. I let it slip on purpose. Any last important question from the side of the audience at the moment? I don't know. Are you sticking around for a little bit still? There's coffee over there and something to drink. Maybe you want to, snatch also our two guests here and talk to them during the coffee break. Thank you so much, the two of you.
Thank you.
Thank you for moderating the session.
And well, what a day. We've talked a lot about, now about energy. We've talked, I think what remains with me is we've talked a lot about involvement and how can it happen. We've heard that it's really difficult on the food side, changing habits. As soon as there's a crisis somewhere else, people would go and buy cheaper food again because fear is a big driver. And yet we also heard, if you just change a little bit something, if everyone does it and do not, now hope I heard is a bad word. What was the other word? Does someone still remember? There was another word. Alarming, right. Alarm gets you into action. Hope makes you go like this. Right, something like that. Okay, but anyways, we heard a lot of things, but I think there's also a lot of hope in it. We heard ideas on how you can create a community, how you can grow on a small scale, involve people, even in villages, go, and you have to just do the work, even though it's very, very difficult, but it is possible. And the one thing I heard also today, I think it was Dominique Barjol who said, we need the young people to step in and shove away the, no, not like that. You know how I mean. Stay enthusiastic, stay involved, and it's really great to see that it is possible to organize an event like this, organized by students only. And best of luck, and for the future also, fill those auditoriums, it's really needed. Thank you so much for having me. This is the end for me today. Thank you again, the two of you, and I will just now announce how it's going to go on, but great applause, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, participation will remain the topic. We were going to have Julia Steinberger and Sasha Nick doing a last panel at 6:15. Julia had to, she cannot make it, but in her place we're going to have Angie Martin. He's a PhD candidate specializing in energy and socio-technical innovation. He's going to be speaking in her place, and we're going to have Sasha Nick presenting. He's EPFL scientist at the Laboratory of Environmental and Urban Economics. He's also the CEO of the CO2 Monitor, means he's an entrepreneur with substantial industry and management experience, and he's going to talk to you about participation, and I hope you will participate. Citizens' participation as an essential precondition for the required radical change. And I think I will stop on the note of radical change. Thank you so much.
Thank you.